The Internet, a place where narratives harden faster than concrete, decided in early 2020 that Arissa LeBrock was a joke. She lasted one bump. That was the punchline echoing across podcasts, forums, and every corner of the digital wrestling world. Reports, garbled and sensationalized, surfaced that Steven Seagal's daughter had, in a word, flopped at the WWE Performance Center. And just like that, the story became gospel. Memes flew, mocking her supposed lack of toughness, her celebrity lineage, her failure. She was just another privileged kid, they said, who couldn't hang with the grit and grind of professional wrestling. The laughter was loud, the judgment swift, and the online verdict was rendered without hesitation. But here's the part nobody bothered to check: the inconvenient truth buried beneath a mountain of digital derision. Arissa LeBrock never actually failed. She didn't tap out, she wasn't cut for being soft, and she certainly didn't flop. No, she was carried out on a stretcher, an agonizing tableau of a torn ligament and a concussion. Then, like a ghost, she vanished, leaving the ravenous rumor mill to churn out its own twisted version of events, unopposed. This wasn't a story of a talentless Nepo baby. This was the most profoundly misunderstood tryout in WWE history, a brutal awakening that would eventually become the loudest, most undeniable wake-up call the women's division never saw coming. And, trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Arissa LeBrock's entrance into this world was anything but ordinary. Imagine a childhood where your father, Steven Seagal, was the undisputed action film icon, a man whose cinematic persona involved breaking arms with casual efficiency for a solid decade. Then, picture your mother, Kelly LeBrock, a supermodel whose face graced countless magazine covers and whose iconic image sold 1 million shampoo bottles, defining an era of effortless glamour. This wasn't a suburban upbringing with soccer practice and school plays. This was a life carved from remote film sets, private dojos echoing with the thud of training and the constant hum of global travel. It forged a child who, no exaggeration, could execute a precise wrist lock before she could even properly spell algebra. Her early years weren't defined by typical childhood games, but by the disciplined movements of Aikido, the grappling intricacies of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the raw physicality of catch wrestling. By 16, the world saw her on runways, a striking figure inheriting her mother's statuesque beauty. But the superficiality of the fashion world, the endless cycle of poses and air kissing, bored her profoundly. She craved something real, something visceral, something that demanded genuine contact and effort. Her passport became a testament to this hunger, filled with stamps from Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitions in obscure gyms, intense Aikido seminars in hushed dojos, and grueling catch wrestling camps across continents. She wasn't dabbling, she was dedicating herself, forging a warrior's spirit long before the wrestling world even knew her name. She was building a foundation of legitimate martial arts prowess, honing a natural athleticism that was undeniable. So, when the WWE's talent scouts started sending feelers in late 2019, they weren't extending charity to a Hollywood legacy. They saw something far more potent, a legitimate, towering 6-foot martial artist who moved with the kind of predatory grace that suggested she could physically dominate half their existing roster. Her pedigree wasn't just in her name, it was in her verifiable skill set, her imposing physicality, and an aura of quiet intensity. The buzz, as you can imagine, was instant, electric. Whispers turned to shouts, speculation solidified into expectation. Seagal's kid could be the next Ronda. The stage was set, the anticipation palpable. Everyone was ready to see if the hype was real. But what happens when the greatest expectations meet the cruelest twist of fate? December 2019. Orlando. 30 hand-picked athletes gathered at the WWE Performance Center, the hallowed grounds where dreams are forged or shattered. There were no cameras here, no blaring theme music, no adoring crowds, just the stark reality of sweat, drills, and relentless evaluation. Arisa stepped into that crucible, ready to prove herself. On day one, she impressed. Her chain wrestling was crisp, her transitions fluid, a testament to her years of martial arts discipline. Her mic improv sessions, often a stumbling block for even seasoned athletes, were solid, showing a natural charisma and quick wit. She delivered strikes with the kind of impact that made veteran coaches nod, a silent acknowledgement of her genuine power. Everything pointed to a promising future. Then came day two. Bump drills. These are the foundational yet brutal exercises designed to teach wrestlers how to fall safely, to absorb impact, to protect their bodies. On a seemingly simple back roll off the second rope, her knee buckled inward, an unnatural, sickening twist. She landed, hard, on the back of her head, and everything went white. Just like that, in a flash of agonizing pain and sudden darkness, the tryout was over. Her career, before it had even truly begun, was thrown into agonizing doubt. WWE's medical staff, efficient and clinical, slapped on a neck brace, drove her to the nearest imaging center, and presented her with an injury disclosure form to sign. No press release, no social media post, no official statement. It was standard procedure for an injury at the PC, designed to manage information and mitigate potential liability. But silence, as we all know, is oxygen for gossip. In the vacuum of official information, a garbled, sensationalized version of events quickly leaked. Seagal girl blew her spot, got sent home. The story spread like wildfire, mutating with each retelling. Nobody inside the performance center was allowed to talk, bound by strict non-disclosure agreements, leaving the truth to suffocate under a blanket of corporate silence. By the time Arisa woke up the next morning, groggy and disoriented, the internet had already tried, convicted, and buried her. Her name, once whispered with anticipation, was now a punchline, a cautionary tale of celebrity privilege meeting the unforgiving reality of the wrestling world. The truth, brutal and undeniable, was that she was sidelined by a devastating injury. The narrative, however, had already been written for her. The next 12 months were a masterclass in disappearing. This wasn't a strategic retreat, it was a necessary vanishing act. Surgery to reattach the torn MCL was just the beginning of a grueling physical battle. For 3 agonizing weeks, she was unable to walk, each movement a fresh wave of pain. The fun bonus? Persistent, debilitating post-concussion vertigo that made every sudden head turn a dizzying nightmare. She moved into her mother's Santa Barbara guest house, a sanctuary of quiet recovery, because even simple stairs became enemy territory, a treacherous ascent she had to relearn. But the physical pain, as intense as it was, paled in comparison to the emotional wound. The lowest point wasn't the surgery or the vertigo, or the struggle to regain basic mobility. It was watching a Reddit megathread titled WWE Dodged a Bullet climb to the front page, festering with vitriol and gleeful condemnation, while she was still learning to walk downstairs again without crying out. The gossip stung worse than the knee, leaving scars on her spirit that were deeper than any surgical incision. She'd never been cut from anything in her life, never failed to meet a challenge. This public humiliation, this false narrative of failure, was a bitter pill. So she did what Seagals apparently do. She ghosted the world. No Instagram rehab updates, no tearful tell-all interviews, no carefully curated, please feel sorry for me posts. Just quiet, relentless, obsessive repetitions. She hired a strength coach, started over from zero, rebuilding her body and spirit in absolute solitude. Single-leg bridges, balance exercises, core strengthening. Each rep a silent defiance against the noise. She was healing, not for public consumption, but for herself, and for the undeniable truth that still burned within her. Then, a flicker of light in the early months of 2021. Dustin Rhodes, a legend in the wrestling world, known for his unique style and incredible longevity, posted a cryptic tweet. New project dropping in. Tall, mean, and motivated. Attached was a shadowy, intriguing photo of a woman with a braided top knot, her back to the camera, hurling a heavy medicine ball into concrete with fierce intensity. The wrestling hive mind, ever vigilant, squinted at the image. Wait, the collective thought began to form. Is that? Yes, it was. Dustin, seeing beyond the internet noise and recognizing genuine talent, had invited Arissa to the Rhodes Wrestling Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. No strings attached, no expectations beyond a willingness to work. The first week was a brutal test of her rebuilt body. He pushed her, testing the knee with spine busters, with ladder falls, with every high-impact maneuver he could think of. And it held. The quiet, obsessive repetitions in her wilderness year had paid off. The second week, Dustin tested something even more crucial. Her heart. 500 squats, grueling cardio, and then the mental gauntlet of promos about her famous dad, forcing her to confront the very shadow she was trying to escape. That held too. Under Dustin's tutelage, Arissa learned the art of wrestling timing, how to slow a match to opera speed, drawing out the tension, then explode like a firecracker, a sudden, devastating burst of offense. She didn't just learn, she innovated. She blended her extensive martial arts background, the precision of Aikido, the grappling of jiu-jitsu, the raw power of her striking, into her chain wrestling, creating nasty, unpredictable transitions. A lightning-fast leg kick would flow seamlessly into a double-leg takedown, culminating in a knee bar that made even the toughest trainees tap in record time. Her style was unique, dangerous, and undeniably legitimate. Word leaked out of the academy, this time a different kind of whisper, one laced with respect. Seagal's kid is legit now. The narrative, slowly but surely, was beginning to turn. October 2022. Dynamite in Dadeville, Alabama. AEW needed a surprise, a genuine jolt for their women's casino battle royale, a chaotic, every-woman-for-herself match designed to create instant stars. Backstage, a producer approached Arissa, offering her the prime spot, second to last entrant, to maximize the shock value. Her response was immediate, decisive, and indicative of her changed mindset. Put me first. I'll earn every minute. They did. What followed was not just a debut, it was a statement. She stormed the ring as the first entrant, a lone warrior against the incoming tide. She threw out 3 bodies before the next entrant even arrived, a whirlwind of calculated aggression. Then came the moment everyone remembered. She stared down Jade Cargill, a dominant, undefeated powerhouse, and tossed her over the top rope in a spot nobody, absolutely nobody, saw coming. The building exploded. The roar of the crowd a visceral confirmation of her arrival. Twitter, already a maelstrom of commentary, lost what little remained of its collective mind. The announcers, caught in the raw emotion of the moment, didn't mention her dad, her modeling career, or her quiet rehab. They called the match like she was simply what she was, a top-tier monster heel, a legitimate threat. That was the night the narrative definitively flipped. She wasn't a celebrity tourist, she was a threat. The whispers turned into a roar, and in the quiet offices of their biggest competitor, WWE writers reportedly texted each other the clip with the same undeniable message. We missed one. 2 months later, the wrestling world was still buzzing, but a new tremor hit the airwaves. Impact Wrestling, always looking for a game-changing moment, announced a knockout surprise in Nashville. Fans guessed every name under the sun, every rumored free agent, every returning legend. But they guessed everyone except hers. Arissa LeBrock walked through the curtain, a force of nature, and in a shocking, audacious move, she immediately decked the reigning Knockouts champion, then posed with the belt she hadn't won yet. It was a power move, a declaration, and it instantly injected credibility into Impact's women's division. For Arissa, it wasn't just another appearance. It was an instant headache for every booking team in America. Offers began to flood in, a torrent of contracts from Japan, from Mexico, even a quiet, tentative feeler from Stamford, from the very company that had mistakenly written her off. But she turned them all down. For now, her friends, those closest to her, say she wants to prove she can carry an entire division, that she can be the undisputed top attraction, before she even considers cashing a WWE check. She's not chasing the biggest paycheck. She's chasing genuine legacy. Wherever she lands next, the memo is crystal clear, echoing across every locker room and every corporate boardroom. The kid who supposedly embarrassed herself, the one the internet tried to bury, is now the hottest free agent prize every company wants. And she's choosing her path on her own terms. WWE hates two things more than almost anything else: looking foolish and losing marketable giants. Arissa LeBrock, in her quiet, relentless comeback, checks both of those boxes with undeniable force. At 6'1", she possesses a rare, almost mythical combination of skills. She can wrestle with the fluid grace and speed of a cruiserweight, yet brawl with the raw power and intensity of a heavyweight. It's a blend of athleticism and aggression that the Performance Center, despite all its resources and cutting-edge facilities, routinely fails to manufacture. They can teach bumps, they can teach promos, but they can't instill that innate hybrid fighting spirit. Sources close to the company indicate that senior brass held an internal post-mortem on her tryout injury, a deep dive into how a seemingly routine drill could have exploded a knee without any apparent foul play. The answer, they eventually realized, was simple, yet devastating: bad luck. But it was bad luck that cost them a potential cornerstone of their women's division, a generational talent they had right in their grasp. Now, they watch her tapes like X's scrolling through old Instagram photos, a mixture of regret and longing. Every time she lands a spinning roundhouse kick, every time she executes a brutal suplex, they ask themselves the same agonizing question: what if? What if they had handled the narrative differently? What if they had nurtured that talent instead of letting the silence be filled with lies? Today, the memes have gone quiet. The internet's laughter has been replaced by something far more potent: highlight reels. Reels filled with her devastating spinning backfists, her bone-jarring German suplexes, her unique martial arts-infused wrestling style. Arissa still won't do long, drawn-out interviews. She claims with that quiet confidence of hers that her story sounds infinitely better told in the ring, with every move and every victory, than it ever could on a talk show. But she did post one tweet that resonated, a single, powerful statement. Don't count the days you sit out. Count the reps you sneak in while nobody's watching. It's a line that might sound cheesy on its own, until you remember that she went from a stretcher, from the absolute nadir of public humiliation and physical devastation, to the brightest spotlight in professional wrestling in under 3 short years. Up next, for Arissa LeBrock. A full-time schedule, a finishing move she calls the above-the-law neckbreaker, a subtle yet powerful nod to her own unique legacy. And if the whispers are right, if the backstage chatter holds any truth, a major program with a certain WWE 4-horsewoman is waiting, tantalizingly, on the main roster horizon. The future, once stolen by a single unfortunate bump, is now hers for the taking. If you knew the truth all along, if you saw past the noise and understood what was really happening, then hit share and let your timeline know. Let them know the real story. If you bought the rumors, if you were swept up in the quick judgment and the easy mockery, no worries. Drop a comment owning it, because that's how we learn. Either way, subscribe for more videos that separate the dirt sheet noise from what really happened, from the undeniable truth that shapes our world. Arissa LeBrock's story isn't about nepotism or second chances. It's about how quickly we, the collective we, write people off when the cameras stop rolling and the easy narratives take hold. One bad bump, one quiet rehab, and the entire wrestling world, fueled by misinformation, filed her under footnote. She answered not with pleas for pity, not with tell-all interviews, but by rebuilding her knee, her name, and her future. quietly, relentlessly, until the moment she stepped through the ropes and made every single doubter delete their old tweets. WWE may have closed the chapter on her in 2019, consigning her to the archives of missed opportunities. But the book, her book, is far from over. The only question left, the one that hangs heavy in the air, the one that everyone is waiting to see answered. When she finally walks through that performance center door again, not as a hopeful tryout but as a proven force, will anyone still dare to laugh?